Officially, good afternoon and welcome. My name is Joe Buck, and I am happy once again to serve as the MC for this extremely important luncheon that we are attending here today. And now that you've all been so nice and have all taken your seats, I'm going to ask you to please rise, if you would, as the St. Louis Police Honor Guard posts the colors. I was thinking driving down here, by the way, speeding the entire way and breaking a lot of laws, getting in here on two wheels after leaving the rough township of Lida about 20 minutes ago. Thinking about, as I was driving down here, what's happened in the last year since we got together. The way I look at it, three great things have happened. One, right now, currently the Cardinals are playing their best baseball, and they look like the best team in the division, and they are headed, I believe, right to the postseason. And once you get there, who knows how far that team can go, so that's exciting. Two, the Rams lost the Super Bowl. And three, who knew when we sat in this room a year ago that we would all have the thrill ride of a lifetime watching the St. Louis Blues win the Stanley Cup. That was unbelievable. I mean, absolutely thrilling night after night after night. And as I was driving down here, I was thinking about not just the games and all the mayhem that was going on downtown, but then post Game 7 and the celebration, and you've got a ballpark that's open, you've got an empty hockey arena that's being opened so fans can watch on the Jumbotron, and all the while we're kept safe by a lot of the men and women that are in this room here this afternoon. So as a citizen of St. Louis, I want to thank you for the great work you've done over this past year. It happens every day you walk out of the door, but in particular for the job you did last year during the Stanley Cup run, afterward. How about a round of applause for those men and women and the unbelievable job they did, not just keeping us safe, but directing drunk blues players back into their cars during the parade, drunk Blues Hall of Famers back into their cars. And I'm not talking about you, Chris, so don't worry about it. Just calm down over there. Back into their cars after the celebration was over. The celebration continues, and training camp is right around the corner. I'm going to save a lot of what I have to say for after lunch, which is upcoming. And then if you are new to the room, it wasn't always like this. I look out here and I feel like, and I could probably get this verified by Michelle and Doug and the people who put this on, but I feel like the stage gets smaller every year because the crowd gets bigger. And that's exactly what we've hoped for doing this for 12 years now, and is what I believe is the most important luncheon we can have to help give these police officers all they need to go out and do their jobs in the safest way possible. So enjoy lunch. We'll come back, and as I started to say, we've got three Hall of Famers here. The greatest shortstop to ever play the game, Ozzie Smith, is up front. The beloved Dan Deerdorf and Chris Pronger. They'll take questions from the audience to try to have some fun after lunch, after we get the important messages to exactly why we're in this big room here this afternoon. So enjoy lunch, and we will restart this program in about 25 or so minutes. Thanks. At this time, it is my honor to bring up the mayor of the city of St. Louis, Lida Cruson.
Good afternoon. To pull those down to my size. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. The Police Foundation has been an incredible support to our police department over the past 12 years. You are certainly investing in a safer St. Louis, as the theme behind me says. There is tremendous momentum in St. Louis, with $8 billion of investment from the Arch to the city limits, south on Grand with SLU's new hospital, north of downtown with the new NGA. Choteau's Greenway, bringing it all together. And our police do incredibly hard work every single day. To Chief Hayden, to our police officers, our recruits, and our cadets, thank you. Our police officers have a very difficult job, and often a thankless job. But we are thankful today. I am thankful for what you do for all of us in our community every single day. It's hard to fathom, though, where we would be without the Police Foundation and without all of you here in this room who support the foundation. The Police Foundation helps in so many ways. The cadet program, recruiting, training, technology, cameras, equipment, bikes, dogs, horses, and radios. The list goes on. I want to just take a moment here to thank Doug Albrecht, Michelle Bagwell, and the entire Police Foundation board for the job that you do to help us. I also want to say thank you, Mimi, thank you, Greg Taradowski, for chairing this event, and of course, to Joe, Dan, Ozzy, and Chris for spending your time with us this afternoon. We know that you help us fill this room because we all want to hear what your insights are. Thank you to the Police Foundation. The Police Foundation has your back. The Police Foundation has our back. We thank each and every one of the officers here today and those who are not here today for supporting us every day, for doing the hard work that you do every day. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And now would ask you to welcome, please, the Police Commissioner, John Hayden, St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. John?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on this momentous occasion. Our department owes a debt of gratitude to the St. Louis Police Foundation, board members, and all of the generous sponsors and donors here with us today. I would especially like to thank Mimi and Greg Twardowski for their support and leadership for this event. I would also like to offer a special thanks to Mr. Joe Buck, Mr. Ozzie Smith, Mr. Darren Deerdorf, and Mr. Chris Pronger for their availing themselves for this event year after year. We truly appreciate you, gentlemen. Thank you. I'd like to recognize my partner in crime fighting, my counterpart in St. Louis County, Chief John Belmar. He's over there. Our departments work together to keep this entire region safe. Thank you for the partnership, my friend. And most importantly, I would like to introduce to you my team of commanders, officers, recruits, and cadets in the room. If you all would stand, please. Remain standing. Thank you. They work tirelessly, and I might add round the clock every single day on our mission to keep St. Louis safe. This has been a particularly challenging year for our city and our fight against violent crime. But I want to reassure everyone in this room that the St. Louis Police Department is going to continue to do its best to keep our citizens safe. In a sports analogy, like you gentlemen, either left it all on the ice, on the gridiron, or on the field in the last quarter, last period, or last inning of each and every game, our officers are going to give it all that they have to keep our streets safe in the last quarter of this year. Please continue to pray for our law enforcement efforts and, above all, the safety of our officers. You all might be seated. Thank you. Being here today is in fact a celebration of the very generous and much appreciated work of the Police Foundation and its donors. Since 2007, the Foundation has been supporting our law enforcement efforts, raising, as has already been mentioned, more than $15 million toward well over 200 projects and initiatives. Whether it be for the purchase of fortified ballistic vests, additional surveillance equipment for the Real-Time Crime Center, additional training for our officers and commanders, the funding of community engagement programs, the revival of the police cadet program, the increased support of our recruitment efforts, or even Family Appreciation Day at Six Flags later this month. The Police Foundation has been there for us to fill the financial potholes on the bridge toward much-needed projects, programs, and equipment. St. Louis Police Foundation, I can't thank you enough for the significant financial support your organization has provided to the St. Louis Police Department. May God continue to bless you and keep you and continue to grant you many successful endeavors with our department for years to come. We truly appreciate everyone's presence here today. Thank you very much.
That gentleman walking off the stage right now is the pride of Lutheran North High School. Don't be fooled. My wife's right here from Denver, Colorado. She thinks it's Steve Atwater, who was a hell of a player for the Denver Broncos, but I'm taking John. John, thank you very much. He did it, but I'm going to do it again. A, it's in the script. B, I don't think we can do it enough, and that is to ask the police officers, the cadets, the recruits to please stand up one more time so we can salute you, those of us who are protected by you every day. Please, if you would, so we can say thank you. There are 78 recruits in the back of the room. A class of recruits will graduate on Thursday and will become St. Louis City police officers. What a time to sign up for that line of work. And from all of us that are in coats and ties or dress or whatever it is, the lay people here in the audience, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much for being willing to go into that line of work and protect us. So thank you and good luck to all those who are about to graduate who are here with us in the room today. We are going to hear from the three guys down front here in just a moment, but first, as we have each and every year, a visual audio reminder as to why we are here for the Police Foundation. Time to roll the video.
It's a city with a dynamic skyline, a city with a dynamic pulse, a city some call the gateway to growth, as development worth more than $8 billion is being invested within St. Louis's urban core. But like many municipalities, our city also faces challenges.
A 7-year-old boy is dead after a double shooting in the Hyde Park neighborhood in St. Louis.
City Park, when as many as 30 shots were fired in a drive-by.
At times, the headlines and stories have been alarming, as shootings involving children throughout the city dominate the news.
I'm making moves. Hey, watch me. Hey, watch me.
But staying proactive and fighting to keep our city safe remains the top priority of both the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department and the St. Louis Police Foundation. That involves new, cutting-edge technology and the ongoing efforts of officers like Deanna Jenkins and Scott Boyer.
Downtown is St. Louis. It's not Chesterfield, it's not St. Charles, it's St. Louis.
In North City, it can be very difficult. Sometimes there just seems like there's a loss of hope.
In certain sections of the city, reducing violent crime remains an ongoing challenge for officers like Deanna Jenkins.
3 rounds went off and 1 hit me, and then I couldn't feel my legs, so I just fell to the ground.
This 24-year-old resident was recently shot in the stomach. His neighborhood remains a hotbed of criminal activity. He's one of the many residents Officer Jenkins interacts with as she attempts to build trust and make a difference.
There's definitely hope. There are people who believe in change. There are people who want change and are willing to work to see change, and they believe in a better life and a better day.
The 28 years I've been on this police department, I've been assigned to just about every progressive policing unit that the department has.
Today, Scott Boyer supervises another progressive unit, the 27 members who make up the department's downtown bike unit. He and his unit pedal and patrol with pride.
The St. Louis City Police Department is dedicated in the security of downtown. And my unit is absolutely dedicated into the security of downtown.
That dedication is paying dividends. Year to date, total crime in downtown St. Louis has decreased by 14%. And thanks to your generosity, resources are being deployed to cascade that momentum throughout the city. Meet Sky Cop and its bigger, brawnier brother, the mobile police station.
It really advances where we are technology-wise and really is a force multiplier for our department.
Both are new, both are making a difference, and both have been funded by the St. Louis Police Foundation.
This vehicle is very special because it has the latest and greatest in technology, and it helps for us to level the playing field between us and the bad guys.
The mobile police station costs some $225,000 and is an imposing crime deterrent.
The bad guys, or the undesirables, they flee. We can clear a corner with this machine in 5 minutes.
Officers stationed inside control cameras which survey crowds, recognize faces, and read license plates.
It records everything it sees, and it's all linked to the Real-Time Crime Center. The Real-Time Crime Center also has it up on their board and can see everything that we are seeing.
The mobile police station also allows officers to write reports and execute other police functions. That means less downtime and more patrol time.
Sky Cop is really our mobile surveillance cameras on wheels. It's the ability for the police department to really get into the core of the neighborhoods where really a lot of the crime occurs.
The St. Louis Police Foundation also has purchased a total of 13 Sky Cop mobile trailers. Each cost $56,000. All will be operational by year's end.
We can take it anywhere in the city at any time, so if something occurs, it's an immediate impact on crime.
Sky Cop has 3 powerful cameras, can see 360 degrees, and also streams video back to the Real-Time Crime Center.
We've gotten such great feedback from both police officers, community members, business leaders, asking for placement of these trailers in and around their areas just to help with that deterrence and create a safer environment.
The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come.
Game-changing technology and the dedication of those patrolling our city. No doubt, the words "investing in a safer St. Louis" are more than just a motto. Thanks to your support, it's an investment in our future.
Without the Police Foundation, we couldn't accomplish what we're accomplishing here today, and we're making great strides to be better.
Thank you for the investment in technology. It really is a game changer as we move forward in our efforts to reduce violent crime in the city of St. Louis.
Best is yet to come.
The support of the foundation is imperative. We love the foundation. The training, the technology, the support, those are all things that help us to push forward, do our jobs, and protect our citizens in the city.
Best is yet to, the best is yet to come.
That is absolutely fascinating to watch. Michelle, I don't know if he's in the room, but our thanks to Jim Duff, who puts that video together free of charge every year for us to really give you an idea of where your money is going and how necessary this day is. Just as a quick departure for just a second, my wife and I, we just had twins a year and a half ago, basically, and we have an au pair who's living with us from South Africa. Explained to her today, this morning, where we were headed down to this banquet, and I was kind of caught myself realizing that I was saying that we're going to an event where citizens, in essence, are raising money to equip our police to better do their jobs, safer, faster. It's amazing to me that in this country, with all the money flying around, that federally, not locally, federally, something like this is not taken care of. But it's not, and that's why from Doug Albrecht on down and everybody with him on the board, what a special endeavor and what a great luncheon. Okay, so I know you have some questions. I hope so. Already on the stage is our good friend and multiple MC here for this luncheon, and obviously somebody who, at least when I think of my dad, was one of his best friends in life. The great St. Louis football Cardinal Dan Deerdorf is with us today. And then I guess these next two guys just are into drama. I got to introduce you guys to walk up on stage. NHL Hall of Famer and proud St. Louisan Chris Pronger, Stanley Cup champion as well. And then, of course, Ozzie Smith, the Wizard of Oz, is with us yet again.
And they got our names on here.
Yeah. I didn't know where we were going.
You all, I'm sure, look at these three as great athletes. I certainly do. When I see Ozzie, I think of the flips and the plays and the home runs and everything else that he did. And Chris, I think of him planting Justin Bieber into the glass and the boards in a celebrity hockey game, among other things, certainly being a great NHL player. And then Dan Deerdorf, one of the best offensive linemen, not just the city, but the NFL has ever seen. I see all that, but I also see three guys who aren't from here, who played here, who live here, and who are very proud of our city and want to give back in any way they can. And this is just another example of that. So for these three guys, I open it up to questions. It's a little bit hard to see out there. If somebody's got one, I'm sure there are microphones. If not, just shout it out. There's microphones and cadets back in the back who can run to you. Yes, Chris, go ahead. You're first up. Do it, Chris. I know your voice carries.
Thanks, Joe and gentlemen, for doing this again. Much appreciated taking your time out today. But the chief talked about leadership, and we have many leaders in this room, from all the chiefs down to patrol officers, that help shape young men and women.
Go ahead. Talk into the mic so maybe everybody can hear you a little better.
All right. So anyway, leadership was a topic the chief brought up. And we have many fine leaders here, from chiefs all the way down to patrolmen, that help shape young men and women of the department and the force. Switching to sports, coaches do that same thing, and especially at the collegiate level, and even in the young men and women in pro sports. I'd love to hear about your guys' experiences and all your ventures and encounters. Is there a coach that stands out to you? Is there a great coach story that's had an impact? All four of you as you've gone across the country.
Yeah, we'll start. Yeah, absolutely. Good question, Chris. Start on the end. You've had so many great ones over the years. Who's first in your mind?
I played for Bo Schembechler at the University of Michigan. The first thing that comes to mind is being a great leader is somehow getting you to accomplish something that you didn't think was possible, to do something that you didn't think was possible, to push yourself beyond the limits of what you thought was reasonable and what you thought you could actually do. And I know it sounds like, well, that just sounds like a taskmaster, but in reality, it's learning how to motivate people, because once you do that, once you realize, wow, I just didn't think this was possible, you've learned everything you need to know about how to be successful in life. And that's what a great coach can do for you. As a great player, I always thought it was my obligation to do just one thing, and that was to make the people around me better. If I thought that my teammates were a little better, played a little harder, practiced a little better, just by my being there, I thought I was doing my job.
Chris?
Coach-wise, I think Joel Quenneville probably honed it here and took it to Chicago. But just bringing the group together, you got a lot of different agendas. You got players, some in contract years, some with long-term deals, some at the end of their career, start of their career, whatever the case may be, and to bring all those guys together with a common goal, which, as we just saw this year, is the Stanley Cup. It's not easy to win. It's probably the hardest trophy to win, and it takes a lot out of you. But when you get a group of guys together, and women, depending upon the trophy, as you band together, it takes a leader, it takes a coach to kind of figure out what buttons to push. Ozzie's might be a little different than mine, and Dan's might be a little different than mine, and it's kind of melding all that together that makes a great coach, and especially in today's generation, I think it's greatly needed.
Oz?
Well, I think both of these guys spoke to what a great manager or a great coach does. He has guys achieving more than they think they're capable of achieving. Whitey Herzog certainly was that type of manager. You lead by example. And, I think in talking about the Blues, I think those guys really took after the coach. When you look at how they approached day to day, the game day to day, it wasn't about, hey, when they lost, they didn't say, hey, we're going out to win the Stanley Cup. They said, well, when do we play again? And I think when you look at the coach and the way that he went about his business, I think that was the big key for them. And it was very successful and a lot of fun to watch.
I just, as far as me dealing with a head coach, Dan certainly dealt with him more being at CBS for a long time. But the guy that jumps to my mind is Bill Belichick, just because of the sustained excellence and being able to basically take whatever roster he's given, and granted, he's giving himself that roster most of the time, and winning with it. And it's just phenomenal to think that when the Patriots beat the Rams in the Super Bowl in 2001, here we are going into the 2019 season, and the same head coach is in New England, the same quarterback is in New England, and that was kind of his coming out party in 2001, and Tom Brady, and they're still the odds-on favorite to win the conference basically 20 years later. I just, in the era of free agency and guys coming and going, and you start looking at who these teams have had on their roster, talking about just the Patriots, it's not always the most dynamic receiver. You could make the case they've never really had anybody in their prime as a dynamic receiver or running back, whatever, but he just has the ability to outthink the other coach, out-scheme the other side, and get the most out of his players.
I always thought the magic of Bill Belichick was his ability to build a roster, and everybody is pretty good at building the first 30. I always thought Belichick was the best at building player 31 to 53. There are 53 men on an NFL roster, and he paid more attention to players number 42, 47 on that roster because he knew at some point in time during the season there was a good chance that they were going to fill a role, they were going to replace somebody, and even if that role was no more than 3 or 4 or 5 plays a game. I always thought Bill Belichick wrote the book on how to build a complete team. He understands the meaning of the word team.
And by the way, is a huge baseball fan. If you want to go into a production meeting with Bill Belichick, he won't even tell you if Tom Brady's playing in the game that week. He's that paranoid. But if you bring up baseball, he'll talk about it with you for an hour.
Well, he and Tony are great friends.
He and Tony La Russa are really good friends. All right, who's next? I mean, I could sit up here and interview these guys.
Over here, John.
Go ahead, back in the back left as we look out there.
Hi, this is as long as you guys are talking about coaches, I remembered a story that my friend told me. He was, and this is about Whitey Herzog. He doesn't even know this story exists. Whitey, my friend was in the doctor's office, and my friend is his hero in baseball is Whitey Herzog, and Whitey Herzog walked into the doctor's office while my friend and his wife were there, and as soon as he saw Whitey, his eyes lit up, and he thought, I've got 1,000 questions to ask Whitey because I got him in this office, and I can ask him questions. And before he was able to ask his first question, my friend's wife interjected and said, "My mother-in-law wears your hearing aids." And for the next 15 minutes, Whitey talked about his hearing aids. And the doctor came out and said, "Mr. Herzog, come on in." And that was the last time that my friend got to see Whitey Herzog.
It's equal parts funny and kind of sad for your friend.
Well, I want to tell you that the reason I ask questions in this is so I can go back to him every year and say, I got to talk to Ozzie and Chris and Dan Deerdorf and Joe Buck, and he gets a tear in his eye every time. So thank you for letting me talk to you once again. And let Whitey know maybe next time he's in the doctor's office to give my buddy a break and answer one of his questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're violating HIPAA laws with that, but we will We'll pass that on. Good job. Good question. Well done. Anybody else? It's the quietest room filled with people I've ever experienced in my life. Yes, John. Right up front.
I'm a kind of a dreaming person. Is it impossible for St. Louis to get an NFL team? And if so, what would it take for us to actually possibly get an NFL team back in St. Louis?
What would it take? The question was, is it possible to get an NFL team? Dan, you were kind of involved with the last go-around. What are your thoughts on that?
How many people in this room want an NFL team? John, you is all by yourself. The fact of the matter is that nobody gets an NFL team now without a tremendous expenditure of public money. And I don't know that there's an appetite for that in very many cities in America. The reality is I can't conceive of a scenario where St. Louis gets an NFL football team, partly because I don't think there's a real appetite for going to the dance for a third time here in the city of St. Louis. And I think we're proving that it's still a fine place to live. It's still a wonderful place to raise a family. There's still lots of great restaurants, good schools, lots of things to do. We're surviving just fine without pro football. Am I sad that we don't have pro football? Absolutely. It was my life. But at what cost? And I just think that we need a generation or two to pass, I think, before the scars are healed. Am I wrong?
No, I don't see it being possible. But until then, we can hold that XFL team right here in the palms of our hands. I know you're excited for that.
And they're going to play, Kitty, the 5 games they're going to play here, so what the heck? Yeah. Hey, support your local high school team. Support your
Lutheran North. Are they still the Crusaders?
College.
Yeah.
Support your local college team. Support Mizzou, and root for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs just might win a Super Bowl this year.
I don't disagree with that either. Anybody else? Yes, right up front. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, this question is for Chris.
Hey, Greg.
These two are friends, by the way, so anything could come. Have you ever gone to the doctor's office with Chris?
No, but here's the question in all seriousness. What do you think we can expect of the Blues to start the season? They just came off a miraculous season, right? They got beat up through the playoffs. I'm told that every playoff game is the equivalent of playing 2. So they finished the season, they're tired, they've been partying like rock stars, and the season.
Well deserved, by the way.
And the season's right around the corner, so you've done it. What can we expect as fans?
I would suspect they'll come out of the gate hot in game 1, and after that, the first 15 or so will be they'll be trying to get back into real shape. They're going to think they're in shape, but they're probably not quite where they were as they were last year. There's a bit of a cup hangover, no pun intended, but lots going on. It's a different summer. It's obviously from the time they won to now the cup's been passed around, and some guys have probably gone to other people's parties, and you're not training quite the same, you're not eating quite the same. You have to be very, very, very disciplined. And we're talking about 20, 22, 23, 26-year-old kids for the most part. It's tough to stay that focused all the time. Usually by about game 40, which is where they started last year anyways. So I'm assuming they'll do much better than they did the first 40 last year. But I don't think it's going to be like the last 40 where they went basically 32-8 or whatever it was. It was quite impressive. No, I think with the youth they have and the moves that they've made, I like their chances. It's unbelievably hard to repeat in our league. You got a giant X on your back, and everybody else has gotten better. So with the way that they played in mind, everybody's thinking, okay, they played big, strong, heavy. We've now got to add a couple pieces like that, and it'll be a little different, you know. And does the goalie play the exact same? He might take a little bit of a step back, which does that mean they lose 4 extra games, or, you know, I think he'll still be good, but is he going to be as rock star as he was? I don't know.
Yes, Doug.
This is Rozzy. Ozzy, you're the best defensive shortstop ever played the game. If you had to defensively put together an infield, who would you have at first, second, third, and catcher?
Career? Over my career?
Whoever you saw, whoever you
Okay.
played with, whoever you.
First
who
base
would you want to put
first base would definitely be Keith Hernandez. Keith Hernandez was by far the best first baseman I had the chance to play with. He took so much pressure off of pitchers because he could feel the ball all the way to the third base line. Second base, I would probably go with Robbie Alomar. I feel that Robbie was one of those players that covered so much ground, covered a lot of ground like I did. Would have been fun playing with somebody like that who had the footwork and the quickness around second base. And third base would probably be
Floyd Rayford.
Jeez. Floyd Rayford. Where did you come up with Sugar Bear? The third baseman, I played with a lot of good ones. We played with a good, I didn't play with him, but he played here. Scott Rowland was a good third baseman. Covered a lot of ground, had great hands, had good foot speed too, around, to lateral ability around third base. So if I had to put together an infield, it would be Scott Rowland at third base, myself at short, Robbie Alomar at second, and Keith Hernandez at first.
Catcher?
Probably, I'd say Johnny Bench would probably be, if I could go back that far, would probably be because of his ability and behind the plate and his ability to call a game.
Good question. All right, anybody back in the back? Yeah, front left.
What happened to Tampa Bay? And
They took their foot off the gas pedal at about game 60. And much like you saw with St. Louis, as they had to fight for every inch to get in, they took their foot off at game 60 and kind of coasted in, still winning on skill and talent. And as the intensity and emotion ramped up in the playoffs, they weren't able to match it. They couldn't rise to that level that at the time Columbus was at. Columbus played very well against them. I think with the moves that they made, they kind of caught a little bit of lightning in a bottle and played a hard physical game against them. And their goalie kept them in games early on where Tampa was kind of buzzing. And then once they were able to get the first goal, they could kind of sit back and trap and play tight defensively and kind of grind away on them and force them to make mistakes.
Got about 5 minutes, 10 minutes left. Yes, table 25. Sure. It's a race. It's a race. Who's going to win?
This is for R.J. Smith. Is this going to be 12th championship year, like miraculously Blues did?
Number 12.
Is this going to be a championship year like miraculously the Blues did?
12.
We're hoping for 12, but there are some other teams in the league that I think will win this division. You know, how far we'll go beyond that is to be seen. But it's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy track.
I don't know what the Cardinals drank at the All-Star break, but I'd like to have some of it.
Yeah.
Seriously, what changed?
Well, you know, the talent was always there. I think he finally found some continuity to his lineup. And you have to have continuity if it's going to work. You know, he finally now has a lineup that I think that that he can trust every day. Guys come into the ballpark knowing that they're going to play every day. Guys are starting to play a little bit better. Wong's playing better. So that's really it. It's just finding your place and being able to go out there and do it every day. I don't care how good a manager you are. Your players still have to play. Your stars got to perform, and they're now starting to perform the way that we thought that they were going to perform at the beginning of the year.
Anyone else? Am I missing anybody? Anybody from the bagpipe section back in the back? Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering. When you answer a question when you play the bagpipes, does the answer come out later?
With Vegas being so productive and successful in their first 2 seasons as an expansion team, do you see Seattle being able to replicate that success when they show up to the league?
Yeah, the question's about the NHL and directed at Chris. Vegas just hit the ground running with the expansion draft. They got a ton of great players, and they were a force right away, and now Seattle's coming in at some point here.
I think they'll be good. I don't think they'll be as good. I think teams will, that was the first expansion under those rules, and teams were trying to figure out what they wanted to do, and I think now, as they get a little egg on their face, they're just going to say, here's your pick of players, go ahead and take it, unless they're trying to move some salary or move a certain type of player off their roster. Otherwise, I'm sure Seattle will just have their pick. But knowing that, looking at the rosters in 2022 when they're picking, they're going to get some good players. There's some good players that are young that teams are either going to have to move somebody else to protect or make moves with other teams, and you'll see some balls being moved around to try to cope with that.
Dan, I mentioned earlier that you were dear friends with my dad. I'm wondering, can you imagine playing professionally in the NFL in the city of Las Vegas, Nevada? I know how you and my dad rolled.
Your dad would have loved to have been the
play-by-play. Yeah, there's no doubt. And Musburger's their guy, which is
I know.
hilarious.
That's so he doesn't have to travel.
That's right, to bet.
It's, the NFL has, all the way back when they suspended Alex Karras and Paul Hornung back in the early 60s for, illegal way. The NFL has just led the way for all the sports leagues when it comes to gambling. And they for years tried to pretend it didn't exist. And then, of course, they get in bed with fantasy football, and they won't call that gambling, but it certainly is. But the reality is, yes, the fact that they're going to have a franchise in Las Vegas, I just want to see the itinerary now for the visiting team about how many meetings their coach is going to schedule to try to keep his players out of the casinos. It's they filed the one thing I learned a long time ago about the NFL, and we learned it painstakingly with Stan. They will follow the money, and Las Vegas was one of the rare places that was willing to offer up a lot of public money to build a stadium for the Raiders. And yes, it's a little awkward, and your papa would have loved it.
Oh, God.
Your dad would have loved it.
He died too soon. They used to say, Ozzie, that there was a disadvantage for the Cubs players because of baseball set up with such a nighttime life. You're there middle of the day at the latest. You play at 7. You're out of the ballpark at 11. You got the Cubs playing the reverse of that with all the day games. That was a problem. Now you've got, imagine Major League Baseball in Vegas.
That's pretty good. That'd be pretty good.
Visiting.
Now, Joe, we're implying that your dad used to gamble.
Gamble. Is that what we're saying?
Maybe that's not.
Did your dad gamble?
My dad lived to gamble.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If there's one thing that kept him alive for the last 3 years of his life, it was gambling.
One of the things that we haven't talked about, something that's pretty exciting that happened here recently, was MLS soccer. Getting a team here,
MLS soccer.
Oh, yeah. I think the addition of a soccer team here is a soccer city. It took a long time to get it, and glad that we have one, and I guess that kind of replaces football.
Chris and I would not have been soccer players.
Yeah.
I bet you'd have been damn good.
I might have been okay.
I bet you.
What are you implying?
Huh?
What are you implying?
Well, I've seen you try to run. Skates are fine, but
Yes, Tommy. On what's going on with Jordan Spieth, I don't know. I don't know if anybody has an answer with regard to his results. He hasn't won since winning the British Open a couple of years ago. And we got in at Fox to golf in 2015. He won the U.S. Open. He had won the Masters. And he was going to be the next it guy. He's a wonderful kid. Couldn't be a better person. And just seems to be in his head a little bit. And putting issues, which I know they were better this year, but that was the one thing that he had over everybody as recently as 2015, 2016, and I know this year was better. Last year was not good. So for whatever it is, and you know, I think there's so much expectation for a lot of these guys, and that sport more than any other. And for you and I and Doug and everybody up here that tries to play the game of golf, that's not, you know, playing defense on the Blues or playing for the Cardinals or playing for the Cardinals. It's on you, and you've got to draw the club back, and you've got to try to get the ball in the hole. And I think pressure, you know, as my golf partner says, Paul Azinger, pressure bursts a pipe. And I think pressure has gotten the better of him over the last few years. I'm anxious to see where this goes for him. I think he'd be a great story if he can get it back together, but I don't see a lot of signs of consistent play that, you know, there was a time in 15, 16, even into 17 where you just expected him, if not win, to be in the top 10. Now you think of that with Brooks Koepka, and other than him, you know, I don't know who fits that description. So I don't know where it goes from here, but I'm anxious to find out because he's a great kid. Yes, back in the back, you're going to be the last question.
Hi, this question is for Mr. Deerdorf. How do you see the injuries, the head injuries specifically, affecting the future of the NFL?
Ending this one on a light topic. How do you see head injuries and where do you see the NFL? It's a tough one. Where do you see the NFL in 10 years? Is the game in 10 years going to be resembling what we see today?
I think trauma to the head is obviously something that should concern everyone. And it's not just, you know, it's not just football. Soccer has a real problem with it as well. The NHL, I think Chris could give us a long talk about that. So the reality is, I think they have made tremendous strides. The game is officiated differently than it was when I played. It was the wild, wild west when I played. You could hit anywhere, anybody, anytime, as long as the whistle hadn't blown. And you could hit them anywhere you wanted to hit them. In the ear hole, in the face, in the throat, it didn't matter. They have really changed all that. The coaches coach it differently. They're trying to get back to striking with the shoulder instead of the helmet. The problem started when they made the helmet so good and the cushioning and the suspension inside a helmet was so effective that you literally could run into a wall wearing a helmet and it wouldn't hurt. And so the helmet transitioned from a method of protection to a weapon. And we were taught you hit somebody with that helmet as hard as you could and you'd hurt them. And they wouldn't play as well after that. I think it has changed on the high school level. I think on the collegiate level with the targeting rules. It's certainly changed in the NFL where that style of hitting is being legislated and officiated out of the game. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think football is going anywhere. I think 10 years from now, football will be every bit as popular as it is right now. Might there be fewer kids playing it at the high school level and the junior high level? I don't have the answer to that. But I'm thrilled with the way they're coaching the game and trying to legislate the kill shot out of the game of football.
Yes. Yes, wife. What do you have? It's a good question. That's why I married you. I love you so much, babe. I love you so much. If the question was, if you were putting together your own personal highlight reel, what would be the first highlight? And we're gonna go like most important backward. What would be the first highlight you would put on there?
I'm not going first.
Highlight. Besides the flip?
Besides a flip.
Okay.
Because I feel like you could still do that.
Yeah. I guess it would be a play in San Diego where I had to dive, and as I dove, the ball went that way, and I barehanded the ball while I was in midair. That would probably be a good start.
Yeah, and for anybody, you do not even have to be a baseball fan, a sports fan. YouTube that, Google it, whatever you have to do. He's going to his left, the ball hits a rock or a family of six in front of you and kicks. And mid-dive, is like, okay,
and I had a lot of hair then, too.
Yeah, you did.
Know? So it was a long time ago.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Chris, what would yours be?
Ooh. It's got to be a good hit in there somewhere, right? I don't know what it would be, but well, maybe I do. Well, let's go with this one. Every once in a while when you hit somebody and you don't feel it, those are so good. And I had a lot of those. I can't put them all on one, but when you're doing that, it kind of opens the ice up for you, so it's perfect.
You don't want to attach a name to the receiver of the hit?
About 100 of them. I can't remember them all. Remember, I had a concussion. I can't remember them all.
Okay, all right. Good. Way to make light of that serious situation, Chris. Thanks.
I'm trying to take it down a notch, a little levity.
All right, good. Dan?
It's just a series. The first time I ran out of the tunnel as a sophomore at the University of Michigan, going to start a football game, I never dreamed that I could ever accomplish something like that. And then the first time I ran out onto the field to play an NFL football game. And then the first time you get elected to a Pro Bowl, and you get then elected to the Hall of Fame. And it's just a cumulative list and effect of all these different events. And each one of them, as they go by, if you're really honest with yourself, you say to yourself, how did I ever get this lucky? How did I ever get to be this fortunate, and why me? Because if you've got any sense about you at all, you realize that all of us up here on this stage, we've been afforded the opportunity to live in the stratosphere where not a lot of people get to be. And if we don't count our blessings, we're morons.
And I know, yeah.
And Chris, and I really was looking at Chris when I said that.
And I know you asked the question because you want to hear my answer to this. It would be when I walk down the aisle with you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. April 12th. What year was that?
Don't get in trouble.
2014.
Don't get in trouble.
Chris knows. Well,
I remember,
he knew part of it.
Barely.
Yeah. And then he took out a shoe rack after about 14 margaritas.
Who sets one of those in the sand anyways?
So you're blaming us because you did a header into a shoe rack that we had up because
Sand
you got
is
overserved.
very
No.
unsettling.
It was a test for you and you flunked. Here's how I'm going to end this, and then we're going to retire the colors. I'm not going to mess that up as I did the invocation. Ozzy, I know it's been an emotional couple of weeks for you. Ozzy lost his mother last week, and so any of us who've lost a parent, you can sympathize and you understand what he's going through. But as we sit here in a room filled with police, and we're here for, I think, the best cause going. As a young man who grew up and witnessed the riots in Watts and all that was going on in the streets, what are your thoughts on a day like this and as we raise money to better protect those who are going out to serve us?
Well, this is certainly one of the most important events that I go to every year, and I think Doug for inviting me to be a part of it. Everybody in this room is such an important part of the success of any city, and they put their lives on the line every day. So I thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Ozzie. These are three of the greats, great people. Ozzie Smith, Chris Pronger, and Dan Deerdorf. And as we wind down, I'm thinking, and I was really this morning, about Illinois Trooper Nick Hopkins and that horrible story that happened less than 2 weeks ago, him losing his life and the impact that had on the community just across the river. He was called during the memorial service a light in our dark world, and I look out into this audience and I see so many lights in what I don't want to describe as a dark world. But a frightening world at times, no doubt. So I thank you all. We all thank you all for everything you do each and every day. You put on the uniform and walk out of the door. Before we say goodbye and before we hope to say see you next year, and I remind you to take your parking passes that are on your tables, it is time to retire the colors.